Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, July 14th, and welcome to episode 194 of Buds and Blue Jays. It's your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm Jesse Burrell, joined by my two co-hosts today. We got Riley McConnell and Jesse Teresa. Boys, a lot to get to as the first half of the Toronto Blue Jays season has officially come to an end as we have approached the All-Star break. What's going on, boys? How are we feeling today?
Well, I mixed feelings. Okay, we are in a very difficult spot at the All-Star break, a position we have not been in a few years. I mean, not great, guys. I mean, we're gonna rip apart some of the guys and give some encouraging words to the guys who have been successful. But honestly, man, it's been a disappointing first half.
And Jesse, how about you?
It's like the whole season's been. It's been a roller coaster. The ups and downs, twists, turns, and a lot of suffering too, if you've done it on a full stomach.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really wanted to be in this position where the Toronto Blue Jays are. I think we're 44 and 52. We're dead last in the AL East. It's been tough for this Toronto Blue Jays team, but if you're watching us and you've been following along with us all season, you know exactly just how bad it is. But boys, we're into this. We're going to be following along every single step of the way, so make sure you stay with us as we do just that. First, boys, a couple bits of housekeeping before we get going. Today on the show, we are going to actually dive deep into the what happened in the first half of the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to talk about some things we like, some things we didn't like, and kind of take a look forward into the second half to see what we're expecting or what surprises, maybe even drop a bold prediction or two of what might happen in the second half. So stay tuned for that. Also, the Blue Jays drafted a player. The first-round player draft just went through about 20 minutes ago, so we will talk all about the Blue Jays pick in Trey Yesavage and so much more in this episode. But first, guys, we will be back at the Baseball Town event this Thursday up in Danforth. It's at the Comedy Bar. So please, if you are going to be in Toronto, come hang out with Jesse and Riley and I, and we will be there talking all things Blue Jays baseball with our friend Scott Belford from the Walk Off Podcast and so many more. Nick and Adam from Blue Jays Today, Keegan Matheson from MLB.com, and many other people in the Blue Jays community, too many to name here. So if you are in the area, come by, drink a beer, talk Blue Jays baseball with us, and all that good stuff. You can find the show on any of your social medias, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, socials, and anywhere you can find the podcast. You can leave us a 5-star review, tell a friend, and all that good stuff. With that being said, boys, you ready to get into the episode here?
No, but it's our job.
That's right.
Good or
but we're
bad,
not
we gotta cover this.
Time to rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm a day one fan, man. I'm not a bandwagoner, so we got to talk about what has been. We'll get into the first half. But, Jesse, let's start with the lighter stuff as well.
All right, let's talk what might be some of the bigger news in Blue Jays baseball. And we just signed a pitcher. We just drafted a pitcher. And we were talking about this coming into the draft, how the Toronto Blue Jays really, really, really need to nail this draft pick, that this pick is going to be so important for the future of the Toronto Blue Jays. And that might be tough to do at 20th overall. And, guys, the pick is in. We have drafted starting pitcher, right-hander, Trey Yesavage out of college. He's a 6'4", 225 pitcher. He's got a 4-pitch mix, mid-90s heater, can go as high as 97 or 98. He's got a slider, a curve, a splitter. In his last year in college, 145 strikeouts and 32 walks in 93 and 1/3 innings. And he really comes at you with a high release point. In fact, there are some videos out there circulating the social media, so we've posted some ourselves. Make sure you go check that out. But he really does come high from the top. It kind of looks like a Ross Stripling-esque delivery when he was here coming over there, but his stuff is significantly better than Ross Stripling. He fell. A lot of people had him in the top 10, top 11. Some people had him mocking as low as 15. He fell to the Toronto Blue Jays at 20, which is kind of interesting. Baseball America, though, thinks he is a top 3 pitcher in this draft, and the Blue Jays were able to get him at 20. So that is good. Gentlemen, I want to get your first reaction on the Blue Jays taking this pitcher, Trey Yesavage.
I mean, I don't know this guy because I will be honest with you. I don't pay a lot of attention to college ball. My interests and my focus lie in Major League Baseball and in the associations, the minor leagues that follow that to an extent. What I do know, guys, is that we have not had much luck in developing these pitchers we have drafted. So that is immediately a red flag. Teresa, you know more about this guy than I do. You're definitely our insider of all things youthy with the Toronto Blue Jays, and you have some information on this guy that blew my mind. I already didn't like the pick because he was he was a pitcher. I really thought we should go with a, college bat. I'm not the GM. I don't have my scouts in a line telling me who I should pick. I don't get that option. But it sounds like, yeah, sure, this guy fell. We might have got a steal, but why might it not be a good thing for us to have drafted this Trey Yesavage? Trey Yesavage.
You'll get the name right, Riley. I know.
Okay.
It's already a bad time when you can't say the name. But why I don't like him is, like Jesse said, we always draft pitchers. We don't have any impact bats. From what I've heard is he has a elbow issue coming into the draft, which, again, how many times do we have to draft a pitcher that has elbow issues? Yeah, Gunnar Hoagland, who had one. You have Manoah now. You have Barriera. Like, even I'll say Ricky Tiemann. All our pitchers we're drafting are like made out of glass. It's not right. So the players I wanted were Honeycutt, who of course goes to the Orioles.
Yeah.
Seaver King that went to the Nationals, and I still want Tommy Hunter, who's probably the best power hitting third baseman.
Yeah, Tommy Tanks.
By the way, the Jays don't have a power hitting player that other than Orelvis Martinez, who has to use PEDs, and Guerrero when he just wants to make an all-star game. So there's nothing really exciting about this pick for me, because knowing the Jays farm system and development, they're just going to butcher them. So it's or trade them away for someone that for 2 years.
Yeah, there's been a good study done. I listened to Ben Nicholson-Smith on the last At the Letters podcast, and they talked a lot about the Blue Jays' real failures in drafting players over the past few years. They have drafted one pitcher, period, since 2016 that's gone on to have at least 2 WAR in Major League Baseball, and that was Alek Manoah. Every other pitcher they've taken has either gotten negative WAR around 1 or did not reach the major leagues, which is quite terrible for the Toronto Blue Jays. And even let's look at their first-round picks since they took over. 2016, TJ Zoich, who got negative 0.6 WAR. Logan Warmoth never made the show. Nate Pearson's got a negative WAR. Jordan Groshans has got a negative WAR. Austin Martin has a negative WAR. And then the only other one is Alek Manoah. And then 3 guys, Hoagland, Barriera, and Namala, who have yet to make the big leagues. So it's the track record for the Toronto Blue Jays here does not look good. So our thoughts of them being able to develop this player into the guy he should be kind of gives us hesitation. For what it's worth, a lot of scouts seem to be like, this guy he's very much major league ready. So maybe he could be on the big league team as quick as next year, which would be great. But I really wanted the Blue Jays to shoot for upside. And Jesse, some of the names you mentioned there might have higher upside here, which is what the Blue Jays really need to try to get a franchise changing player in the draft, which they haven't been able to do.
No, exactly. And that's where my frustration is, because if you look at the 2010 draft, yes, I'm going back several years, who was drafted around the number 20 spot? Oh, yeah, Mike Trout. And right before him was Randall Grichuk. So, I know you could end up with a Grichuk-esque player, or you can end up with Mike Trout. So, I don't, I'd rather take the chance on a bat, because we don't need any starting pitching, because we can't develop it.
And that's the thing, too. Go ahead, Riley.
Well said. It's about being able to develop these guys. I mean, look at last year. Davis Schneider drafted at 20 whatever or late teens. Spencer Horwitz, same deal. So the issue doesn't seem to be, it's not like we can't develop anybody. Our position players seem to be fine. And yes, it's kind of could be a flash in the pan type thing for Davis Schneider and even Spencer Horwitz. But even to get that out of the later rounds, I mean, I'll just flat out say it. For the last decade, it seems we've pissed away our first round pick. And that's a tough thing to look at if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, our whole starting pitching staff, minus Manoah, who won't be back this year, who's already had issues in the major leagues off of one good season.
Yeah, and that's our best one.
It's atrocious to see. You mentioned a guy like TJ Zoik. I mean, is he? I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know where he is. He's probably pitching in Japan or Mexico right now. I hope he's doing well. I didn't dislike it. Same with a guy like Logan Warmouth. I mean, Spencer Horwitz has seen more major league time than he has, and he was picked rounds and rounds and rounds after him.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact, and Teresa, you made a good point. You're picking at 20th. Who else was a 20th overall pick? Mike Trout. So you kind of just have to look for it. Have your scouts do their job, do their homework. And I think homework wasn't done properly. I personally would have loved to see a college level bat go with this pick, and that's not what happened here today. So you kind of we just have to cross our fingers, boys. Honestly, that's all we can do as, content creators and primarily as fans, is hope that, hey, maybe the tool that we have with this guy, him being, closest to MLB ETA, closest to being a big league arm, we hope that he can stay healthy and get the innings in the minor leagues and just kind of climb up the ladder and see major league time as soon as possible.
Yeah, the biggest failure for this Toronto Blue Jays ownership or front office group since they've taken over has probably been the fact they have not been able to develop anything really out of their farm system after talking a big game and getting mad when Alex Anthopoulos moved all our prospects to go for it in 2015. And they haven't been able to bring these guys in and get in here. Like even the guys that they got, like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was already here before Atkins and Shapiro took over, right? Yeah, you could say they got lucky with drafting Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio in 2016. But even then, like, they had an old farm director draft those players and then fired him 2 months after the draft, right? Like, it just really hasn't seemed to be working with these guys. So it's like, I don't really think it's going to work out. And look, we kind of need it to, and I hope it does. But the old saying too is there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. So we'll see. We'll monitor this guy's career. I bet you the Blue Jays get very aggressive, probably even posting him to maybe even New Hampshire, or maybe not quite New Hampshire, but at least high A Vancouver, and seeing where the Jays go from there. Because I bet you they want to see this guy get some pressure right away.
Well, welcome to the Blue Jays, Yesavage. I mean, I hope it's a good trip for us guys, because again, we get one, unless it's compensatory and whatever else, we get one first round pick a year. We've blown it for a long time. I mean, let's see what happens. I mean, we can only wait at this point. We got a lot of other things to focus on. I don't really want to get hung up whether we made the right pick in this year's draft, because there's buildings falling down around us, and this building hasn't even been built yet. So I don't want to tear into it too much.
Exactly. There's 20 rounds for a reason, but let's hope we get better results later on.
Yeah, and we'll talk more on our social media channels about who the Blue Jays draft in rounds 2 through 20 going on here, as the draft is still going. It's pick 45. The Blue Jays pick again at 59. So maybe if it's still live while it happens, we'll touch on it then. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to in the end of the series, so we're not going to spend a ton of time recapping the Arizona Diamondback series that just was the last series before the All-Star break. But here's a little quick summary. The Jays lost 2 out of 3. They almost lost all 3. They really tried to do so. They weren't able to do it. Our bullpen sucks. Our pitching is good-ish, kind of, not really. They also kind of suck. Our bats are suck, except for Dalton Varsho, who hit triples in 3 straight games, which is really cool. Kevin Kiermaier hit a grand slam. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a home run. And Stuart Baroa made some nice catches in the outfield. Series done. Series recapped.
Love the recap. Round of applause.
Yeah, great.
Best series recap we got to. Just watch Jays in 30. Just watch the Jays, the little snippets, 8-minute videos on MLB if you want it. We got too much to get to, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for this, for the good and the bad, because this has been the first half. It's been
for the Diamondback series, just watch it. If you want to see sack flies, just watch game 1 and 2.
Yeah. So many sack flies too. And triples and sack flies were the theme of the series for the Toronto Blue Jays, which, hey, we've talked about the Blue Jays wanting to play small ball all season. They kind of did in this series, but still lost the series, so it doesn't matter.
Yep, exactly. We need to come on strong in the second half. Don't see it happening, but hey, we did what we could. It's over. We didn't finish 10 games below 500 in the first half like I thought we would. We narrowly avoided that today, despite our best efforts in that, was it 5th inning, 6th, 7th? I don't even know. They've all blended together at this point. Baseball has really gotten the best of me mentally. I'm just kind of there.
We need a break too, don't we?
They were 2 late night games, and then you expect me to sit this afternoon and really focus and watch that after a 12-1 loss? I don't think so, man.
All right. Well, let's touch in on what happened in the first half. We'll go over some of our big surprises, some things we liked, obviously what went wrong for the Toronto Blue Jays here. We'll talk a little bit about storylines, some individual players, maybe some cool things we liked from the first half of the season. And then we'll also take a look into the second half, and we'll kind of avoid some of the trade stuff, as we're going to have another trade episode probably next week as we get a little closer. Unless, of course, the Blue Jays make a massive trade between now and then. You can bet we'll be here to recap it. But we're going to get in and talk about what our expectations are for this Toronto Blue Jays team, what we want to see, and obviously what went wrong on the first half. Boys, I've just got some general stats I just want to throw at you here for what happened from the Toronto Blue Jays in the first half of the season. And spoiler alert, these are not pretty. So hold on to your butt and get ready for these. But in terms of offense, the Blue Jays are 28th in baseball in home runs, 25th in runs scored, 27th in stolen bases, 29th in BABIP, which is batting average on balls in play, which is bad, not good. We have the third highest pop-up percentage, the lowest home run to fly ball percentage, the second highest soft contact percentage, and the fifth worst average exit velocity in all of baseball. Guys, none of those stats sound good for the Toronto Blue Jays, and there are more. We can go on to them. I guess let's start with the bats. Who do you want to talk about first as, I guess, a storyline, whether good or bad for the bats from the Toronto Blue Jays?
I mean, we might as well start with the good. I mean, if people are interested in hearing what's going on with this Blue Jays club, we might as well start with the guy we're sending to Texas to the All-Star game, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been our best player up to this point this year. He leads the team in almost every hitting category, whether that be extra bases, base on balls. His batting average has been great. His OPS is one of the few. He's the only qualified hitter with an above 800 OPS, and that's at 815. I mean, he's not tearing the cover off the ball, guys, but he's getting the job done at the end of the day. I mean, I know we want more from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I certainly do. But at this point, I mean, it's good enough. Like, we give him a passing grade, right? I think the one season he finished runner-up, 2021, as fantastic as that was. I'm going to take this first half from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and say, I hope we can improve on it, but it was a successful first half.
I agree on that being successful. I think it's more because of the power of the haircut, like it has been with you there, Riley. Mm-hmm. But I still think he's a disappointment, because if you saw him until he got that haircut and like that hot streak he had from the Boston series when I was there to that Yankee series before he got hit, yeah, it was great. But we can't only have those few weeks. He needs to do that consistently and be in that MVP form the whole season. I still say the more highlight, like the successes of Spencer Horwitz. Like, I was calling from him from like early April when I saw him play in Buffalo, and it literally was like his numbers, like that is like, and now he's second ever since he came up in the Oakland series. Like, he's been more the surprise than like positive for this season, I say.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that Vlad and Horwitz have been the two best hitters on the Toronto Blue Jays, which I don't think any of us could have predicted that going into this season. In terms of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here, like, his under the hood stats actually seem like he might be putting together like a career best season. Like, he's got his hardest hard hit percentage in the year of his career at 55%, second percentile in all of baseball. His average exit velocity is the highest it's been since that MVP season. His expected batting average is as high as it's been since that MVP season. Same with his slugging and all that stuff. So it does really seem like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is hitting a stride, especially since that Boston series. And a big thing is probably coming in the second half. And we've gushed over Spencer Horwitz from what he's done this time, working out long at bats, hitting for power, doing all the little things you want to see. Like, there's very little doubt in my mind. He is a stud. Like, an absolute stud. Needs to be in the lineup every day. He's a top 90 hitter in all of baseball right now, and definitely one of the top ones in all the Blue Jays, without a doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a 911 OPS. He takes his walks. The strikeout numbers don't jump off the page at you. And the power's surprising. Multi-home run game this year when they traveled into Cleveland to Progressive Field. I mean, you saw him almost hit it into McCovey's Cove against the Giants as of, this week. That was a recent shot. I mean, the power's there, but he's a pure hitter type guy. I mean, we got a pure hitter in the minor leagues. You talk about pure hitters, you talk about a guy like Joey Votto, probably more recently a guy like Freddie Freeman. You're going to see a ton of doubles. I mean, I'm not comparing Horowitz's talent to that, but there's definitely a comp for those two first basemen. Now, mind you, Horowitz is playing second base because we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first. I don't care. We're at the time with this team where Spencer Horowitz will play first base from time to time, but if we need him, we need his bat in the lineup. And to me, left field and second base are kind of the two positions where you can maybe put a defensive liability, but Spencer Horowitz has not been a defensive liability this year. I really like him at second base. He has certainly improved defensively. And yeah, Teresa, I agree with you, man. If he had played the whole year, his stats would look tremendous. I'm just saying, accumulatively, it's definitely Vladdy for us. But Horowitz, man, as soon as he came up, it's such an impactful piece. You don't get in over 100 at-bats to still hold an above 900 OPS is very good. I don't care what kind of ball player you are, you're getting the right amount of luck, and there's a great amount of skill that goes into that. And we see that with Spencer Horowitz.
Yeah. And if you just look at Baseball Savants, like they have a page where similar batters to Spencer Horowitz, all the names on this list are Josh Naylor, Alec Boehm, and Freddie Freeman. Those three guys.
Freddie Freeman, right there. I told you, man. I can see the comp there. No doubt about it. Pure hitting type.
So when you're getting compared to one of those guys,
it's
fantastic.
Couldn't agree more, Jesse.
All right, Teresa, we'll give it to you next. Did you want to talk about another player, storyline, game, moment that has been good or bad for the Toronto Blue Jays this season?
I'm more I guess the Buffalo boys, all of them coming up from Baroa to Jimenez to Barger to Horowitz and all the boys from Buffalo coming up and actually having an impact and I know we're not talking about the trade deadline yet, but this is what it reminds me of the 2020 year. Yes, it was the COVID shortening year, but you gotta let the kids play. I'm wearing the Buffalo stuff for a reason because I've been all about the Buffalo boys. Even all group with Schneider and Clement, yeah, they're not there all year this year, but they're part of that group, and all of them have impacted the Jays in positive and way more positive than negative this year.
So rank the Buffalo boys in order of how much they've impressed you.
I'll definitely say Horowitz 1.
Without a doubt, with you.
I'll go Horowitz 1, Ernie 2.
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
I'll go Schneider 3.
Okay.
I'll say Burrow because he's barely played will be at the bottom. And then it's a toss-up between, I would say, Jimenez, then Barger.
Boys, we don't really have to talk about Leo Jimenez, but he looks like he's a major league player, right? Remember
100%.
We had that moment in spring training with Ernie Clement, and we're like, yeah, okay, Ernie Clement is a big leaguer. He's proved it. I feel that way with Leo Jimenez right now.
I'm comfortable with him on the 26 man right now. He's filling a big hole with Bo Bichette, even though Bo hasn't filled that hole. I think he's in the right spot for right now.
Is Bo even part of this team? Let's be real.
Okay, let's talk about that then.
Yeah,
because we got to talk about Bo Bichette because I have a stat here. This came from Ben Nicholson Smith on Twitter, but I loved it so much I wanted to share it. The Blue Jays have been walked off more times this year by an opponent than Bo Bichette has hit home runs this year. And that is just absolutely insane to me. Guys, 4 home runs. I was listening to Scott Belford, our friend over at the Walk Off podcast, and he was just visiting in Seattle. And sorry, Scott, I'm going to share your story here. But when he was in Seattle, people would kept looking at the Jumbotron and they'd see Bo Bichette's name on the board and they'd see a 4 in the home run column. And everyone would be like, Bo Bichette has 4 home runs? What in the world is going on here? And we're in awe. None of us. I don't even think any people in Blue Jays media thought, okay, Bo Bichette's going to play almost regularly aside from an IL trip and only hit 4 home runs. Something disastrous might have happened, and I think something disastrous might have happened with Bo Bichette. So, boys, do we have any faith whatsoever in a turnaround coming here, or what's going to happen here with Bo Bichette?
I got even something that makes it sound even worse.
Oh, let's hear it.
Ernie Clement has more home runs than Bo Bichette.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You could go through the major league list and just pull random names of guys who have more home runs than Bo Bichette, and it won't be pretty.
Yeah. He's 30% worse than league average hitters right now. And it shows,
That's
man.
insane.
I mean, if you look just from his year-to-year stats, man, like Bo Bichette is a premium hitting shortstop. His worst offensive year, minus this year, was 2021, where he accumulated a career high in hits with 191. If you back the truck on our bold seasons, you will for sure hear me saying Bo Bichette will lead the American League in hits and in fact get 200 hits. I am on record of saying that. And at the time, guys, that wasn't the craziest thing I've said on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Going into this year, out of players that were going to get better, players who are going to get worse, I thought this was going to be a huge step in the right direction for Bo Bichette's career. We saw how he finished last year. I think he finished his season strong. And I'm not saying that he won't finish this season strong, but it's far too late for any renaissance in this season. Like, it's gone. I think he's phoned it in. Like, you can tell the swing decisions are terrible. I think he's lost interest with this year's club. Like, it's not a good look. I think that Bo Bichette is just done. I think he's thrown in the towel mentally. I hope it doesn't turn into a Manoah case. But this trip to the IL for Bo is not the worst thing. And I honestly, I think that this is going to be a huge asterisk year in comparison to the rest of how his year is going to go. If he is somehow moved, I think he could go to a team like Milwaukee or Cleveland and absolutely flourish there and go back to the ways. I think this year has taken its toll on him. And I don't see him essentially gaining those hits back to become a league average hitter when it's all said and done. If you look, Jesse, you're famous for saying the under the hood stats. Well, with Bo, the under the hood stats don't look good. Not at all. This statistically, the counting stats aren't there this year for Bo. And then the other thing, the chase rate, the hard hit balls, also not great, boys. So this is not Bo Bichette's year. I think it's done for him. I think 2024 is a wash for Bo Bichette. You're not going to see him come on strong at the end of this year.
Is it bad that I feel like I was going to say, is it bad that if watching Bo Bichette this year feels like I'm watching Javier Baez on the Tigers?
Oh, same vibes, dude. The swing decisions, awful. But we're not paying him $25 million, which is fantastic.
No, we're paying him 17.
Well, hey, and the term isn't attached. I'll say that. It's 2 years, not whatever ridiculous contract Detroit gave, or, well, whatever the contract was. I forget how that worked with Javi Baez, but the term isn't there.
And just some stats before we move on from Bo Bichette. We all know they're not good. We talked about the 4 home runs. These are of all qualified hitters in baseball. Bo Bichette's .320 slugging percentage, 4th worst in baseball. Only Jeff McNeil, Joey Meneses, and Jacob Young are worse than him. In terms of offensive WAR, he is 3rd worst in all of baseball at negative 11.8 behind Joey Meneses, who's not a big leaguer anymore, and Orlando Arcia, who, has never been a bat guy. Bo Bichette is 3rd worst on that list. In terms of like WOBA, expected WOBA, he's down there. Like, it's been dreadful for Bo Bichette. So my thought is 2 things. 1, could it just simply be this calf injury is just hampered him all season? Remember, he went on the IL with it a while back, and now this is his 2nd IL trip with the calf injury. We know Josh Donaldson dealt with calf injuries late in his career, and he was never quite the same. It is possible, I suppose, we just get to the end of the season and we find out Bo Bichette just simply was never healthy all year. That is true. But I also want to point out that I think it was the 2022 season where Bo Bichette was just kind of a league average player for most of the season. And then he had the best month of September anyone has ever seen from a player in probably Major League history. So that is in there, I suppose, but none of the things seem like it's going to happen. So what do you think on those things with Bo Bichette? Could any of those be possible?
I say he's checked out, and like especially after those comments in San Fran was about being on a winning team, he just wants to leave. Like I'm ready to trade him for like Drew Jones, Max Clark, or even Bryce Eldridge. Like give me any of give me any of those 3, I'll be happy. Like I am a fan of him, but he just needs to go. Like his attitude and Schnarr's coaching is killing the team this year.
You just know, though, Bo Bichette's going to go join another team, go on a run where he just hits doubles like crazy and is one of the best players in baseball. Like, you just know that's going to happen, right?
Sure.
Like,
So
We're
so
already
be it.
we already know we're gonna have a fire sale, and I think
yeah, okay.
So be it. Look, like I'd rather have people that want to be here.
Good call. Me too.
I agree with that. Stuart Broa, how happy was he today? I mean, yeah,
Oh.
there are players that want to be here. I get maybe it's taken its toll on Bo Bichette, but that's how you know we need a big change, and it starts with the front office. We got to get those clowns out of there, and I think Bo Bichette should be another guy that is moved for players as well. We got to get a new look.
Oh, exactly. Like a little off topic, but like when I was at Fenway and seeing all the young kids like Schneider, Horowitz, Baroa, Barger, all of them having the biggest smiles on their faces, is like just being on Fenway. It's like that's the energy and like wanting to be there, not the players that who are too big league for this and not having any emotion. Like seeing how happy they are, like that's what makes players want to play.
It's very true. And Bo Bichette seems like one of those. I mean, he's never been a very social guy. He's always been kind of quiet and passive. But now that he's coming out with some of these comments, like we said earlier, it does kind of feel that way with Bo Bichette. He'll be interesting to talk about going forward here. I want to talk about some of the other position players and some notable ones that were supposed to be really big cogs in our lineup. That's our two catchers, Danny Jansen, Alejandro Kirk. So I'll get your guys' thoughts on how their first halves of the season went. And I also want, what's your take on George Springer, Dalton Varsho, Kevin Kiermaier, and Justin Turner, because those were supposed to be the rest of the big guys in our lineups. We don't have to spend much time on any of them, but I want your take on how their first half went.
Wow. I mean, Trey, so this is on us. We'll let Burrow take a back seat for a second.
All right.
I'll run this operation because I like this. And I've wanted to spitball with these catchers. I wish there was a reality where we could kind of shove them in a bag and mix them up and then kind of just create one player out of it. I think Jesse said a stat that was we actually are, first to prevent wild pitches in the majors, and I think that has a lot to do with Alejandro Kirk. And you've seen when Jano's catching. I mean, I love the bat first, but the defense can be suspect at times. And unfortunately, Jano has not hit well. I mean, he's got a couple extra base hits in the last week and a half. That's fantastic. But what I thought, what he needs to do is produce more, and he's not doing that. And I think Kirk is almost, a lost bat, that asterisk silver slugger type year he had. That's way different. I mean, Teresa, I could be wrong, but I was really high on Jansen. I still want to see them split time, but I think it's more like 60-40 when originally I want it more like 80-20.
No, I definitely agree on that. Like both of them have had their flashes like of great like power when like Jansen came back. Kirk was been Kirk and like never been what he's missed his All-Star game. But the rumors I'm seeing now about Jansen to the Cubs, like possibly, and like I can see that happening. He is expiring, but if that's the case, there is certain players I want to bring in, but that's again another story. Both of them have done their jobs, like, but it's like they're not doing enough. Like they just need to do more. Like.
Yeah,
exactly.
The Blue Jays, in terms of weighted runs created plus from their catcher spot, is 91. They're 20th in baseball. If you look at some of the other hitting stats, like in terms of home runs, just the Blue Jays have gotten from the catcher spot 26th in baseball. Like the Pirates, for goodness sake, have more home runs from the catcher spot than we do. The only thing where they really stand out is defensive WAR from their catchers, and we know how good of defensive catchers they are. They're third in baseball, behind only the Yankees and the Tigers from defense from the catcher spot. So that's interesting. But boys, unless you have one more thought on that. Yeah.
No, absolutely no surprise. No, you're taking a back seat, bro. To segue that into defense, man. I mean, if you want to talk about elite defense, which, we get good defense from Alejandro Kirk, but the best defender on our team, and his name isn't Kevin Kiermaier, and that's Dalton Varsho, who, if you wanted this series breakdown, again, we didn't give a big one, but 3 triples in the series against the Diamondbacks, which is insane, by the way. His first time in that ballpark since being dealt for a very notorious trade still to this day, because I think Gabriel Moreno is great. And I also love, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. But Dalton Varsho has had a very weird year, to say the least, where he is kind of the weirdest kind of tooled players, where he definitely possesses some power. He's up there in the teams as far as home runs, 11. The batting average is almost nothing. He just dropped below 200 today, which I'm not surprised, but we need to get that up. But it's the defense. I mean, he sits with 2.9 baseball reference WAR right now. But the defense is elite. We've seen time in and time out this year Dalton Varsho in left field, Dalton Varsho in center field, making highlight reel catches. He's imperative to this team defensively.
He's been in right too.
And he's been in right field as well. I mean, but this guy's a big league center fielder. We tried our damnedest to get rid of Kevin Kiermaier. We really did. I mean, he had a grand slam today. Great. He won't hit another. I would go right to the bet lines right now and say that Kiermaier does not hit another grand slam this year. Dalton Varsho has hit grand slams as well. I mean, there's nothing that Kiermaier does that Dalton Varsho can't do, and it fills out our corner outfield with, like, say, a Davis Schneider and an Addison Barger, or God forbid, George Springer. I want Dalton Varsho in the lineup. I think we need him in the lineup, mostly because of his glove, but with that sneaky power as well. It's frustrating. A lot of swing and miss in the bat, but a very strong, very athletic guy. I mean, I'm big on him. I just wish there wasn't so many holes in the swing.
Oh, 100% I agree. I still say that Varsho should have had a gold glove last year, even possibly a platinum glove. He should have one the year before with Arizona. Got robbed on that. And he is definitely, I can see him having a 2020 season, even a 25-25 season with the speed he has. But the Jays just don't know how to steal bases.
We definitely don't do it at a high volume. We do it efficiently at times. I mean, George Springer hasn't been caught yet. I think Varsho's been caught at least once this year, and he's got 9 swipes on the year, which you would think it's higher, but I don't. I think the speed is mostly reaction in the outfield. I don't know if he's a good first step guy when when we had Whit Merrifield. Whit Merrifield never had elite speed, but he's one of the best, or was one of the best stealers, best base runners in all of baseball. I don't know if Varsho gets that good initial first step off the hop, but there's definitely some tools in there to steal bases if you're Dalton Varsho.
And boys, just really quick, because we got to talk a lot more still as the episode goes on, but a thought on Justin Turner, George Springer, and what happened in their first half.
Collapse. I mean, I wish there was some way to eliminate George Springer from this team. He's unfortunately, no one's going to pick up that contract. He's here to stay. I appreciate that he went on those hot streaks, but at the end of this year, with George Springer's illustrious statistics from the times he was with the Houston Astros in his first couple years with us, this is a huge blemish on what is a very good career for George Springer.
Taylor 2 hot streaks, and both should just join the retirement home now, even though they're not even that old in real life.
I don't know, boys. I'm actually quite encouraged by this recent hot streak and the changes he made, but we can talk about that later on as we go. It seems very good. All right, boys. Blue Jays pitching. Let's talk pitching here, and you will like my stats on hitting. I've got some stats on pitching, and you're not going to like these ones either. Jays are 22nd in baseball in Ks per 9. They're right in the middle of the pack in walks per 9, but they've given up the most home runs per 9 in baseball. They're 24th in ground ball rate, dead last in home runs per fly ball rate. They have the 23rd best ERA, so I guess the 8th worst ERA in baseball, the 8th most runs allowed. They've given up the most home runs, the 3rd highest exit velocity allowed, and the hardest barrel rate allowed as a pitching staff as a whole. None of that is good. And oh, by the way, this was supposed to be the strength of the Toronto Blue Jays team. So, boys, tell me about the first half from some of our pitchers from the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, the first half kind of went like this, and it kind of goes for all around Major League Baseball's injuries. Let's start with who was our kind of going into the season, who we thought was going to be our ace, Kevin Gausman. Well, Kevin Gausman did not get much of a spring training, so he's already behind the ball on the start of the year, and it showed. And I feel like he is still dealing at times. I feel like he has been struggling. Mind you, there has been some very bright spots in Kevin Gausman's 2024 campaign, a la his first career, which I thought was crazy at the time. I thought he at least had 2 or 3 complete game shutout, which is wonderful. I thank God John Schneider let him go because he deserved that one. I don't care what team he was playing. We're not even going to talk about that. I mean, Gosman needs goals like that, but I just don't see it. I think that he's going to start to decline, and I think it starts with this year. I think the blow-ups are going to be coming in more and more frequently, like we have seen. And there will be great starts sprinkled in, but I think you're going to see a lot of average Kevin Gosman probably for the rest of this year.
I keep him away from the Rogers side, and we'll be fine. That's all I gotta say about his stats this year.
The home road splits for Kevin Gosman are wild, but if you just look at the opponents he's played, which Riley said we're not talking about, but he's played bad teams on the road and he's played really good teams at home. So that's kind of something to do with the home road splits for Kevin Gosman. The other guys in general, Yusei Kikuchi had some good, some bad. Jose Barrios started out really hot. He's been very bad lately. Chris Bassett started out poorly, but then went on a very good run lately. So it's like, it's hit or miss, and it's been inconsistency. And then obviously Alec Manoah, but there's been some hit and miss and some inconsistencies with this Blue Jays team and this Blue Jays pitching. And let's not even talk about the bullpen because that's been a shit show all year.
You mean the blowpen?
All in favor for not talking about the bullpen. We each get one. We each get one.
I agree.
We each get one sentence. Teresa, you go first. Pick one guy. Just give it like 2 sentences. We'll each do this just on the bullpen. One guy, 2 sentences.
Jimmy Garcia, if healthy, all-star. And for the rotation, I'll say there's 3 words: good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. I'll take the next one. Tim Meza. So sorry you had to go, man. You were my favorite pitcher on this team. So sad you didn't cut it this year.
I'm just going to say bullpen performance is always very variable, right? And you can never get enough pitching depth. Know that in your offseason and adjust for that going forward into the season. That's all I've got on the bullpen and my shot at the general manager. Yeah. Now, in terms of that's from the stats from the player side, did you guys have a favorite moment or game or storyline from the Blue Jays first half?
Oh, man. It's so hard to think of the positives when you lump this whole campaign together. I mean, let's be honest. Teresa, I'm so aboard these let the kids play. It sounds like a Canadian Tire campaign, let the kids play. I mean, Ernie Clement this week, let's take away his stuff. I liked Horowitz, 2 home run game. Anytime the young players are out there doing good things, that is kind of my favorite part of this year as a whole. It's not one specific moment, but if I'm going to sit and smile at the TV when, when everything's kind of in flames, going up in flames around me, one thing that does make me very happy is to see these guys come up from our minor league system and do some things, some good things and have success at the major league level. That's kind of my favorite part as a whole for the year.
Jesse, how about you?
Haven't really been able to say I've watched many positive moments at home, but there's been some great moments being live at the games. Even though we collapsed in Boston, that was a wicked time being at Fenway, seeing that homer by Vladdy. Mm-hmm. When me and you went to the game on Canada Day, seeing that
was cool.
The dominance of Rodriguez. Yeah, right. You missed out. You should have gone the day after.
I was so jealous. Yeah, I know. I'm so jealous, boys.
And even seeing going to the series against Tampa, seeing Manoah look like his old self. It's Manoah, but it was great to see him actually dominate for once.
I want to throw in some honorable mentions from the first half that we might go in and talk about after the season. But there was the 14-inning walk-off against the Pittsburgh Pirates just after the City Connect jerseys came out. Davis Schneider with his first opposite field home run of the season. That was a good one. Obviously, George Springer hitting the 2 home runs opening days. Davis Schneider hitting that home run off Josh Hader when we were in Houston was an absolute big one early in the year. And one of my favorite things, and I'm going to remember this season, was Yusei Kikuchi when he tackled Soderstrom.
All time. That wasn't a tackle. That was a body check.
That was a good hip check from Yusei Kikuchi.
Tackle. That was still one of the. Yusei Kikuchi does a lot of good things on the baseball field, and I bet you he's quite an intelligent guy. But that was one of the most brain dead, bird brain things I have ever seen a baseball player do. I will say that total lapse of concentration. I felt so bad for him, and he felt bad about it. That you will never see that again, and you won't see a Jay do that again, or anybody, because the Oakland Coliseum is going to be no more.
He definitely didn't sleep enough or read enough books to know not to do that.
Yeah. Or have enough sushi or do some art or whatever else you say Kikuchi is
very good for doing. He was drinking too much of that $3,000 whiskey is what
That's
he was
what
doing. He was cranked and he wanted to go out and fight someone. So he thought a rookie, I'm going to fight this rookie. He doesn't even play first base. He's a catcher, but he's not even a catcher anymore.
That whiskey got him frisky.
Yeah, he did. He laid it.
Happens to the best of us.
Hey, if it was anyone but Kikuchi, I might be suspect to, was there any intent? But you say Kikuchi, one of the nicest, kind of most gentle-natured gentlemen on this team. So there was no ill intent whatsoever with that.
All right, guys, just before we get into what to expect from this Toronto Blue Jays for the second half to end the episode here, the Blue Jays did just make their second-round pick, so I want to tell you about it here. At 59 overall, they drafted a guy named Cal Steven. He's a right-handed pitcher from Mississippi State, 21 years old, again, 6'4", 215 pounds. He throws right. The scouting grades for him on the 20 to 80 scale, 55 fastball, 55 changeup. His control's a 55, a 50 on both a curveball and a slider. Basically, a fastball that sits 92, 94, can touch as high as 96. He does get good swing and miss and good fade on his changeup, which is his second best pitch. Throws a lot of strikes, but he doesn't have that high impact put away pitch. And a lot of the reports seem like he could probably project as a number 4 or 5 starter with very limited upside. So it sounds like the Blue Jays drafted another pitcher, another safe pitcher. And I never liked the plan of drafting the quote unquote safe pitcher who might make the big league soon, because John Harris was supposed to be that safe pitcher. And the safe guys don't make the big leagues. So that's what I thought.
That's a I nowhere did I hear position player picked. We got 2 pitchers in the first 2 rounds. I'm honestly at no comment mode right now. You just said it best. If you want,
yeah. You reading those stats made me think of Charlie Brown, and then listening to the teachers going womp 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 womp, because the same stuff, different pile. And
as soon as you said he was a pitcher, I was already pissed off.
Oh, I don't. I threw my hands up because I'm like, really?
Oh, he's an 18-year-old catcher from Wisconsin. Oh, sweet. No, he's a pitcher. Oh, awesome, cool, great. I don't care.
All right. Well, we'll see what the Blue Jays do in the rest of the drafts coming up. Let's talk a little bit about the second half of the season, boys. And I want you each to pick 2 players you think could be a big breakout for the second half, and then 1 player that might disappoint. And all 3 of us will do that here. So I guess, Jesse, we'll start with you. Give me 2 players you think are going to break out or have a surprising
I know
half.
who he's picking first, and I totally agree with who he's about to say.
All right, Riley, you tell me who.
You better be saying Spencer Horowitz.
No, I'm going somewhere. I'm changing it up on you there.
Are you? Well, I was swinging for Spencer Horowitz, man.
So now with Kiermaier pretty much on his way out, Stuart Burrow. I'm calling it now.
He's going to get a run here, eh?
I'm saying 25 stolen bases in the second half.
Wow. I would
Wow.
25. They're going to let the youth play and change their dynamics and use the athleticism that he has and all the other young kids have and let run wild because they have nothing to lose. Another player I think is going to be a big impact and I said it in the bold predictions, saying he was going to be an all-star, is going to be Ernie Clement.
Nice.
Okay.
And he's not going to give up third base. And the player that's going to disappoint, because pretty much the whole team has been, except for the young kids, I'm going to say it's going to be your favorite, Kevin Gausman, who you thought was going to be Cy Young. And how he's going to pitch is probably going to be his exit of Toronto in the offseason. And they're going to ship him out and try to fix the system and go full rebuild.
Interesting. Riley, let's hear yours. Your 2 breakout players, your 1 disappointment for the second half of the Toronto Blue Jays season.
Well, I'm glad Teresa went first because I gave him the opportunity to pick the correct answer for this. I'm going to say that Spencer Horowitz keeps this up. and that
I just don't like it safe.
This isn't a safe pick. If you're to go to any other fan base and talk about Spencer Horwitz, they don't have more than 2 sentences to say about him. I think Spencer Horwitz is the second best pure hitter right now behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think he's doing everything right. His plate appearances are somewhere along the lines of a seasoned veteran type stuff. The pop sprinkled in between is very nice. Like, I think he's poised for a great second half. Am I saying that? I'm not saying that I expect him to finish the year with a 900 OPS. These are long. When we get into August, I think he's still going to finish with a 850. More than an 850 OPS. I think that's great. He's certainly in a league above league average hitter, and he's going to continue to do that. And I think you're going to see double-digit home runs. I think he has 4 or 5 this year. So expect him to add on to that. Another pick to click kind of thing. I liked your I liked your Ernie Clement go there. I think that IKF, if he's not dealt, is another guy who will be able to put it together too. And I'm not talking ridiculous numbers again, but what I'm saying is that he's going to be able to hold it down where at whatever infield position they got him playing at. And as far as guys taking a step back, Jesse, like, I know that you're like, oh yeah, though, it's George Springer. What a great last couple weeks he's had. Like, I'm ready for the wheels just to fall off. I'm anticipating it. Even I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not wishing it upon him, but I can just see it happening.
Because we saw it for so long.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great kind of flash of excellence that he had, and it's a really good feel-good story at the time. But let's be serious for a second. This year's not going to get easier for George Springer, and I don't think it's going to get a lot better for him. So he's in my disappointment category, not to become a disappointment, but to remain a disappointment is what I'm labeling that one.
All right, good call. I like those picks. For mine, I'm going to do my number one, I guess, breakout or breakthrough for the second half is going to be Yariel Rodriguez. I really think he hasn't thrown a lot in the first half, and I really like what I've seen from some of the hit reduction numbers from him. And if he can just control the walks and keep the pitch count down, I really do think Yariel Rodriguez is set up for a very good second half of the season here. And there's a lot of players I'm kind of curious about that I think, yeah, they could, they might not, they could, they might not. But I really do think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is just going to go ham at some point here. Like you said, some of those exit velocity and StatCast numbers are the best they've been since his MVP season. At some point, he's just going to take this team on his back and carry him for a week. And obviously, he's getting close to a payday, right? Putting together good, solid stretches like this is going to be very important for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And my player that I think is going to disappoint, and this might not be popular with Blue Jays fans, is Jose Barrios. I really do think the numbers are going to come down a little bit and there's going to fall off. We've kind of seen it already in his last 6 starts, has an ERA over 5.5, and the whiffs, the swing and miss are just gone from Jose Barrios. And so I really do worry, like, it's hard for a pitcher to get those back when it's come. And I am genuinely worried about Jose Barrios. If I'm the Blue Jays and I'm playing fantasy baseball, like, I'm moving Jose Barrios and trying to get whatever I can back as soon as possible. Boys, we're running out of time here. So you can have a quick thought on that if you'd like, or if you want to drop one bold prediction from each of you for the second half of the Toronto Blue Jays, I'd love to hear that too.
Oh, man, a bold prediction. Teresa, what do you got? I got one that I don't even think is a bold prediction.
I got two, and like it's more for the trade deadline. My 2 big trades. If I'm not on with you guys for that,
okay. Well, let's hear those.
Jansen Garcia to the Cubs for Christian Morel and Pete Crow Armstrong.
Holy crap! I'll take that. In
Me
a
too.
heartbeat. Holy cow!
And then Bo Bichette to the Diamondbacks for Lawler and Drew Jones.
Can we get Davis and De Los Santos in that? Because if we can get that, then I'm so in.
No way they're gonna give up. I feel like Lawler and Jones is such a big package. I would if we could fleece them. They owe us for Varsho. I would love for them to comp that back to us and give us both Drew Jones, an outfielder, and Lawler, an infielder. That would be insane.
Yeah, those are. I would say those definitely are. But if it's offense, I'll say again. Like I'll use Burrow again. 25 steals. He'll have a 10-25 in the second half.
Okay. And Riley, do you have a bold prediction for the Blue Jays in the second half?
I think at some point that the wheels are going to fall completely off this thing. I'm talking like a week of losses. I think John Schneider is going to be canned. I don't know if it's going to be before or after the deadline, but I'm talking about, I'm sensing, I don't know what our schedule is like, but I just feel like the way this is going, like we got lucky today. We were lucky that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. tied up that ball, or sorry, put them in the lead, and we were able to hold on to the league. It's crazy because our bullpen is so bad. Chad Green is our closer. It's not necessarily on him, but we're not healthy in that department. I think there's going to be a week where our starters don't give us the innings we need. Our bullpen's going to fall apart, and again, it'll come down to our hitters not getting the hits and the extra base hits that we need. I think that we're going to drop like 6 games, and crap's going to hit the fan, and essentially like John Schneider's out the door. I think that's going to happen at some point. I don't know if it's going to be before or after the trade deadline, but I think it's going to happen.
I'll tip my cap to that prediction.
Yep. Go ahead. I just think like if they haven't fired him already, they're not going to. Like it's too far down for John Schneider. Like you might as well ride the ship with him. My bold prediction, and this is not going to be a good one whatsoever, is that the Oakland Athletics finish the regular season with more wins than the Toronto Blue Jays. And update right now, the Jays are 44-52. Oakland is 37-61. So I am saying Oakland wins 7 more games than the Toronto Blue Jays do in the second half of the season. And most of that is because I think Oakland's got some young players who can coming up and play. And the Buffalo Boys have been great, but that's all we've got. So Oakland will finish higher than the Blue Jays, which means the Blue Jays are drafting higher than Oakland in next year's draft. So
well, depends on the freaking lottery, because like, wow, what a crazy thing that is. But yeah, I won't.
Ethan Holiday, here we come.
That's right. That would be nice to get if we could do that.
Yeah. Oh, that would be good. But it takes a team of 26 guys in the clubhouse to win, and I mean, one guy's great and everything like that, but I mean, we got a whole bunch of cogs in this wheel that aren't turning right, and it shows.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, guys, I got nothing else. We can wrap up this episode here. Any more thoughts on the first half or the draft or anything else really from the Toronto Blue Jays season so far?
That's what I think. Not good. This has not been fun. As far as expectations versus results, I think when I started watching baseball and really following it, let's say 2002, I think back then I knew there was a string of years around the early 2010s where I knew we weren't going to be very good. This year's the biggest letdown because I thought we were going to be really good. As far as expectation to performance, there's the biggest gap since I have been a Blue Jays fan or following baseball to this extent. It's a huge letdown, and we just explained why. But it's unacceptable, and something's got to give.
I agree with you, my guy. I agree very much. The only other season I could think that might be worse than this is, remember that season we traded for like R.A. Dickey and all the Marlins guys like Jose Reyes and Mark Burley, and then we started 0-7, I believe, and never really got off the ground. That season might be up there, but this one's right there with it, and that's not company you want to be in for the Toronto.
I even say the 2017 season was very similar to this year.
Yeah. You thought you'd make another run at it, but your pitching fell apart that year, and the players got old. So yeah, it was very rough for them. Anyways, let's hope the second half of the Toronto Blue Jays can give us something positive to root for going forward, so we can at least carry some positive momentum into the offseason, and we know exactly what this team needs to address going forward. That'll be it for episode here today, guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We couldn't go live on Twitter. We're having, I guess you got to pay premium for that now. So for those of you who commented on Facebook and watched us on YouTube, thank you very much for all the comments that came in. We're very thankful for that. We'll interact with you more going forward. See you at Baseball Town on Comedy Blower this Thursday. We will all be there having a great time. Come check Blue Jays baseball with us. And we are going to take a little bit of a break for the All-Star break. We'll be back after the Detroit Tigers series. So 1 week tonight to recap that series and obviously have more thoughts on the trade deadline and what Vladdy did at the All-Star game and yada, yada, and so much more. Gentlemen, anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, not a damn thing. Not a damn thing, boys.
Tip my cap to this first half of the season.
Yeah, boys.
That's beautiful.
Good job, my buds. It was a hairy first half, to say the least. But we ain't done yet. There's going to be worse episodes are. I mean, for you viewers, for you listeners, I mean, hopefully the episodes are good. But as far as us doing these episodes, I think there's going to be hard episodes for us here, not very fun episodes to talk about. Like I said, I think the wheels are going to fall completely off here. It could be 3 weeks. It could be 3 weeks to go in the regular season. But I'm telling you, those wheels are coming off this bus.
All I picture is that meme of Ralph Wiggins. I'm in danger now.
Yeah. Seriously, man, we are all on that bus, and we are in danger. We just don't know exactly when that's going to be. Well, we're already in danger. Panic buttons have been pushed, but the wheels haven't completely come off yet.
Cheers, guys. We will see you next week. For Jesse Teresa, for Riley McConnell, I am Jesse Burrell. Thank you for watching, and let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.